Hey guys, my name is Iroluwa Aboyeji and I'm going to be making a presentation on the gender spending gap based on section 9 of our course. The reading in this section was expectations and attitudes towards gender-based price discrimination. A brief overview of the reading of the case study here is that it explored consumer expectations and attitudes related to gender-based price discrimination. Although much research has focused on pay inequality and gender diversity. Considerably less attention has been focused on situations in which men and women are charged different prices based on gender. So that's the goal of this reading of this paper and the case study that follows it. And the main aim for all of this was there's a lot of data and information on the topic of gender discrimination from angles of pay inequality and gender diversity and representation, but there's very little based on like the spending gap, as I would call it. So based on the amount of money that men and women pay for similar or the same goods and services. So important points made in this case study were there are fundamental differences between some male and female products. So the big example they used in this case study was hair and hairdressing. So for something like this, there are different prices for male and female versions of the same service of hairdressing, but the expectation that women pay more isn't completely senile because there are different requirements for male and female hairdressing. Basically, it's almost not the same occupation for the average hairstyle for men and women. So for men, their hairdressing takes considerably less skill, less time, and less products, while women take more skill, more time, and more products. So there, in a situation like this, there's a clear reason why there are differences between the male and female products. Another important point made by this study was that social norms also play a role with prices being increased based on the value some genders put on a service or product. So this is part of the gouging process where social norms play a role. Like, so women expect to pay more. Women place more value on things like cleanliness and neatness. So, like, for a woman, social norms have made it so that getting your hair done is now like a necessity. If not, you seem unprofessional and you need to get it done professionally and presentably. And that's there's a certain cost to that. So the value of that particular service is considerably higher for women than it is for men. So by this process, women will be willing to pay more for this specific type of service than men. And it doesn't have to do with it does even if it's the same process, the same product, the same skill level for the service, women will be more willing to pay more because of the social pressure and social norms. Another point that was made was the average consumer, male and female, have expectations of gender-based pricing depending on the specific good or service. Both men and women expect more significant gender-based price differences for haircuts compared to dry cleaning. So based on these social norms, people already expect different prices based on gender. So this study did a comprehensive analysis on the limits of this kind of idea of understanding why there are different prices for each gender. And depending on the good or service, people would be more understanding if they can understand why there's a difference. So, for example, in hairdressing, they found when they asked their sample size, they found that more people, both male and female, were kind of understanding of the reason for the price difference in hairdressing, but they couldn't share the same sympathy for something like dry cleaning, where it's the same, like there's no overlying there's no main difference that kind of makes it two different services, but based on social norms, women will put more value on cleaners, and that's where the price gouging in this gender specific service comes from. There's not enough research on factors that can make certain products or services different enough in the eyes of the public to earn the tag of gender discriminatory. So that's one of the main takeaways from the research here. A lot of there isn't a standard to understand when something is being gender discriminatory, or when it is being, or when there are actual differences in the service or product enough to make sure that the prices are genuinely different. So the reading calls for a lot of research in that aspect to make a solid standard, and to do more ground research to find out which services are more acceptable to either gender. Men on average expect gender-based pricing more than women do, due to various factors. Stereotypes. Women also expect to pay higher prices for goods and services. Men believe women pay market price, while women are willing to pay more for the same services. So there was a disconnect here, and I don't feel like I can cover it enough in this presentation. But this is a very important takeaway, where the average man in our society doesn't feel like women are paying more. They feel like women are getting a kind of, they're getting a different service or product that's catering to them, and that's where the price difference comes from. While women, they understand that they're getting the same product, but they still expect to pay more due to social norms. So in this case, the woman is already prepared for the norm, and it has like, it's kind of ingrained in our society that like women have to pay more for some products and services. So this reading related very heavily to behavioral economics. The goal here is to analyze how gender plays a role in the pricing of goods and services. This analysis can be viewed through the perspective of behavioral economics as the prominent defense for current systems of discriminatory pricing against women was the fact that on average, women put more value on the products that exhibit these discriminatory factors. So this covers the social norm that makes it possible for women to be more accepting of paying more for this specific services covered by the reading. So the thing here is that based on social norms, there's women are not expected to question the validity of these prices. They're just meant to see these prices and see that they're marketed for women or designed for women, and just accept it without any comparison to like to similar goods and services that men do use. So there isn't really a solid reason why a lot of prices are different, but the fact that they are different won't be questioned for because of social norms. And the products that are in higher value, sorry, unit, I'll cut that out. So criticisms. My criticism of this reading was not much. I really enjoyed going through it, and it did present me with a few new perspectives. But one of the main criticisms I do have for this reading is that there was not enough analysis of situations where women hold the advantage. Yeah, the reading sets a kind of gender specific precedent that I feel like can be more gender neutral, because the one set is that X gender puts more value on the products that exhibit these discriminatory practices on average. Following this kind of theme of products that one gender can put more value on, we can see this now produce results for men in things like casual shoes and car insurance. For casual shoes, because of the huge interest for casual sneakers, I'm not referring to like more high class or high fashion things like that. Casual shoes have a very have a discrepancy between male and female prices. So shoes made for men are generally more expensive than shoes made for women. And this happens with a lot of sports products too. But especially in the realm of casual sneakers, shoes, the same products, some products are just simply gender neutral. So like it's not like if you're buying a sneaker as a man, you pay more than if a woman's buying the exact same sneaker. But the products that are made and marketed for men and women are have very different price ranges with more focusing on men. And the same thing happens for car insurance too. I think there's been a lot of legislation affecting this in the United States, and I'm not very sure about Canada, but I feel like this situation is being handled. But with car insurance, there were a lot of discrepancies for young male drivers who were feeling the brunt of it as they paid higher insurance premiums. And the argument for the insurance companies was that it was a different product because young men do have far higher rates of accidents and insurance claims than women. And yeah, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.